I like the matching sweatshirts.
Thank you.
This is nice.
Yeah. I walked in, I was like, oh, cry.
It's the first time, that's my first time wearing
sweatshirt. I wear it like every day. So.
There we go. So welcome to another episode of Stories from a Bar. I'm your host, Chris Osborne. For this episode, I'm hanging out at Active Ingredient Brewing Company in Malta, and I'm joined by co-owners, head brewers, Brian Fox, Nathan Rogers. How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Doing good. 9 a.m. Getting started early.
That's right. Like, the day can't go wrong when you're having a beer at 9:15 on a Tuesday morning.
No, it's always a good start.
It's always a good start.
Yes, sir.
This place is beautiful, by the way. Full disclosure, like I mentioned when I came in, I have not been up here before, and I feel bad that I haven't gotten up here just yet. Yeah. But it's like a 35-minute-ish drive, and I don't usually have a reason to get up this way.
Well, yeah, so, maybe sometime when we're actually open, you come back and you can have the whole experience. It's
see the place full of people instead of just the three of us.
Yeah, I mean that's great for recording purposes. I'm not going to complain.
We figured, yeah.
Also, happy holidays, fellas.
Yeah, happy holidays.
It didn't occur to me that it was really December until I had to throw that in this morning. Or I'm like, oh shit, it's a holiday episode.
I know, time flies this year. It's been crazy. It's just seems like the fastest year yet. I don't know why, but. We're here. It's December.
It is. You got your half lighted up tree here.
It was fully lit the other day, I promise. Yeah, we're working on it.
And a shout out to the gingerbread house maker that you just noticed had the A symbol on there. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, someone must have dropped that off yesterday. It's pretty awesome. Our customers are, we have a lot of repeat customers, and they do fun stuff like that for us sometimes. So it's good to see that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into some more stuff, but we got a little smattering of beers here. Why don't, and I'm excited to start drinking.
Perfect. Yeah. So are we. Let's do it.
Let's start with,
which one should we start
Freudian Sips. It's our honey Kolsch.
Okay, right in the middle here.
So this
Tell
one's
me a little bit about this guy.
It's an easy drinking beer. It's meant for our kind of getting someone into craft beer. And we use honey from Better Bee out in Greenwich, so it's local honey. And the honey in it is kind of to dry it out instead of give it that sweetness, but it also helps round it out a little bit so you don't get the too many undesirable flavors.
Takes away from just the beer flavor of a Kolsch, which some people love and some people don't. So it's our more approachable beery beer. The honey helps with that.
Oh yeah, that's really nice and smooth. That's an easy drinker, right?
Easy drinker. Yep. That one sells more, I'd say, in the summer than in the winter, but it's usually one of our top 2 or 3 all the time.
Nice.
So, yep.
You guys got any holiday plans?
I just had a baby 6 weeks ago.
Oh, so, congratulations!
Thanks. Yeah,
shout out to Baby Dean.
Yeah. He came a little bit of surprise 2 months early.
Oh, really?
So we just got him home like 2 weeks ago. So that's kind of what I've been doing the last 6 weeks. Nate's been handling the brewery. Very thankful
that's
for that.
My Christmas plans. Handle the brewery. No, it's yes, I have been, but we've had some help from a gentleman, Jonathan Golan. Shout out, John. Mm-hmm. He's been helping a lot. He won our homebrew competition.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask about that later on.
Yep, yeah. And he's looking to open his own brewery fairly soon.
Nice.
So it's kind of advantageous to both parties, and he's been helping. Other than that, I just did all my Christmas shopping online the other day. So I got it done in like one afternoon. I'm an opportunist. Tried to take advantage. And,
I remember I've pretty much done most of that too. I remember I tried going to the mall last year to knock out some Christmas shopping. Just I like to give it a try like once a year because I forget how awful it is. And so that was a waste of an hour as I walked around the mall and I stopped at the bar on my way home from lunch. I literally did all my shopping from my phone while I was just sitting there at the bar.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easy to do that now.
It is.
It's crazy how back in the day, you had to rush into the mall and do your thing, and you just don't have to do that anymore.
No, I remember
you usually make out better on your phone. Yeah, the crowds used to be horrible.
Yeah.
But times are different.
They are.
Yeah.
But I'm finally super excited. Actually, I haven't done one of these in-person episodes in a while. I took a little bit of a break. Just kind of wanted to do other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm super excited to get the chance to check this place out. This place is beautiful. You guys were telling me you've only been open maybe about a year and a half?
Yep.
Has it been?
Yeah.
May of 21, we opened up. Yeah, we're at the tail end of the pandemic.
Right. We were originally supposed to open up in August of 2020.
Yeah.
So we had to push back everything because of the pandemic.
Yeah, that was pretty much the peak.
Yeah,
things, right?
Yeah, it was a very kind of weird time that it happened because we just put down our down payment for our tanks. So put all the half the money up, and that was like kind of our main capital that we put in. And then the pandemic happened, and we're like, oh no. And everyone kind of got a little scared. Even the bank kind of pulled out on us. And we had to reconvince them that we're going to just open up a little later. And luckily, with a good amount of planning, we opened up in May, and 2 weeks later, the whole mask guidance was off.
Maybe even a week. I mean, it was quick.
Yeah, we kind of hit that nice. Everyone was ready to come out. We had a great opening, great first summer. And since then, we've just kind of been running with it.
Nice. We were talking about your wooden setup outside that's beautiful and looks fantastic, which you're also trying to hang Christmas lights up on.
Yes. It's another step for today. Yeah, we put that in this summer. Try to add some life to our patio.
Yeah.
I think it successfully did that. It's it's white pine, and we stained it a cedar color, so it has that orange appeal to it. My dad took the reins on that, and Brian and I helped out, and we kind of from the bootstraps on the pergola. So
we got the lumber from a sawmill out by Brookfield, where Nate's from, and took it, sanded it, stained it all ourselves. Our staff helped us with that. That was a huge project this summer. It was a lot of work, but it was very rewarding once it was up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a nice piece out there.
Appreciate it.
I have to admit, when I said my schedule was fairly flexible, I wasn't expecting you guys to come back with about 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. And my first thought's like, well, I guess I'm drinking early that day. Not that I'm
my
complaining.
Fault. Sorry. I like to get stuff done early, and I knew we probably had a list of stuff to do today afterwards, and I said let's get in, and we're not open today, so let's get after it.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm not complaining.
He's dragging me to the brewery at like 6 a.m. So this is not too bad.
Yeah, I'm the morning guy. Yeah, got to get it done.
Oh, too bad Unified isn't open this early either.
I bet they're there. I heard they go in early.
Oh, I mean, probably.
We'll just go there.
Yeah, we'll just
randomly
the three of us after this.
It's like walking distance,
yeah,
right?
just cut through the back.
Yeah, we'll just walk over.
Have you guys been watching the World Cup at all, or any interest in that?
Yeah, I've been following it. It was a tough loss for the U.S., but it's been fun. It was a little different having it happen during the winter instead of the summer, but it is kind of nice.
I got used to it pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting World Cup. A lot of upsets and a lot of good play.
Yeah, there was a lot of upsets in the group stage, not so much in the knockout round yet, which is I'm still waiting to happen. I think we're about, I forgot who's playing in an hour. I think Portugal and Switzerland. No, that's at 2. So I got to get some beer for that.
Yeah, sure. We'll hook you up.
Because Spain and Morocco is about to play at 10. But, awesome. I mean, I'm rooting for Argentina at this point. I just want to see Messi get the cup.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just once.
For sure.
But let's talk about Active Ingredient. Well, actually, let's talk about you guys. This is the first time we've met.
Yeah.
And all I know about you guys are you used to be pharmacists.
We still are.
Yeah,
we still are.
Are you still pharmacists?
Yeah, still
One
working.
day a week.
Yeah.
We still,
really?
We still do the pharmacy thing.
Well, how'd you end up getting interested in chemistry and pharmacy and science and stuff then?
For me, I guess it was my family's all in medicine, so it was kind of a natural fit. And I have a ton of family members that are pharmacists now.
Oh, really?
3 cousins, my 2 brothers, so there's 6 of us.
Nice.
And that's where I started getting interested in kind of culinary science, and cooking, and then that turned into home brewing right when I was like 21, so about 14 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
I do not come from a long line of any scientists or doctors or anything, but my dad one day when I was, I think, in 11th grade, found some article about how much money pharmacists make and brought it to my attention because I was good at science and math, thinking at the time I was going to go into either English or the liberal arts or something in that capacity. And he was like, you should really maybe rethink that. Check this out. And so I did some interning, and it wasn't all half bad. And I said, let's do some more interning and find out more about it. And that's what kind of got me started into pharmacy. And man, I just feel like brewing and pharmaceutical sciences are very much overlapping subjects. There's biochemistry, organic, regular physical chemistry, almost all of it algebra, mathematic manipulations. It all kind of
microbiology.
Immediately, yeah.
We did a ton of lab work in school, a lot of micro, a lot of slants, a lot of dealing with cultures. So it really is a ton of overlap.
Yeah. I mean, if I knew I was going to end up doing a podcast that involved a lot of beer, I probably would have taken science and stuff a little more seriously myself. I mean, I was always moderately interested and did good in it, but I'm like, at that age in high school, I'm probably a little too young to think I'm going to start brewing beer.
Right. That's what I thought too. When after I graduated pharmacy school, I was like, I want to open a brewery. It's like, dang it. I just spent 7 years in school.
But it really helps.
It did help.
It's like, and we started home brewing as very much a hobby. I mean, we were.
Well, what got you interested to start trying brewing then?
Like just home brewing in general? I you know what? I watched an episode of Good Eats, and I think that's one of our chemistry teachers used to show us some episodes of that, and then that got me into food science, and then I had to watch an episode of home brewing, and then I was like, you know what? I really want to do this. And when I should have been studying for pharmacy, I was watching and reading forums on home brewing, kind of did that way, and it was a ton of fun. I like doing things that if I can do it, I like to do it myself, so that's what kind of got me into it.
I got into it a little later. Like after I was a pharmacist, I was actually living with a couple younger students from ACP, Albany College of Pharmacy.
Yep.
And I came home from the pharmacy one day, and they were like concocting something in the kitchen that to me smelled actually kind of awful at the time. It was that malty smell of, when you're mashing the grains and boiling. And at first it was like, what are they doing? They did something wrong in the kitchen. And I went in and it was a very rudimentary setup, but nonetheless, they were home brewing. Mm-hmm. And when we tried it later, I mean, it wasn't good. I mean, they know it wasn't good, but it was our first try. And from there, I was like, oh, that's cool. We can make our own alcohol. Why not just do it this way? And from there, I did a couple batches with them. And then shortly thereafter, Brian and I started working together in the pharmacy, in the same pharmacy out in Amsterdam at Walmart. Okay. And we began to homebrew more and more together. Got my dad into it around the same time. Him and I began to homebrew all the time. So it just became this, hobby that became a much more invested project over time.
Awesome.
So,
and I remember when I first started homebrewing, there wasn't like a ton of craft breweries around, and so like we went to school in Albany College of Pharmacy, and I lived like right down the road from Mahar's. Have you ever?
Oh yeah,
you ever there? Yeah. So that place was the best. So we used to go like 3 days a week. And that's how I kind of really got into like craft beer and like learning about the different styles.
Just three.
Just like
some Mahar's.
At like 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they open.
Beers as we could.
Yeah. And that's really how I got into it. It's like Bill there made a good friend with him, and he kind of took me through all the beers that they had. And they had like 60 beers on tap, like 6 casks. It was, I don't know, 200 bottles.
Almost obscene.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a lot to take in.
After 200 or 300 different beers, I was like, I think I'm ready. Maybe we're going to start this.
I've tasted my share. I'm ready to brew.
Yeah, that's right.
So when did you guys start thinking seriously about actually opening a brewery?
I think it was like 2018, around there. We met at the Mary Monk. It doesn't exist anymore in Saratoga. It's a great place. Too bad. Belgian restaurant.
I feel like I know that name at least.
Mm-hmm.
They had really good beer selection.
Oh, yeah.
Good food.
I mean, like at that time, we still kind of are big into Belgian beers.
Mm-hmm. We don't Henry Street Taproom, right? Is it Henry Street took down?
No, it's
or is it the Social?
Flatbread Social.
That's right.
I think they closed Flatbread.
Oh, did they?
I think is Henry Street expanding there?
Maybe. Sure. I'm out of the times.
Henry Street opened Flatbread, I think, right?
Did they?
I think there was the same owners.
Okay.
And they ended up closing Flatbread only recently, maybe a couple within the last few months.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's where Mary Monk used to be.
Okay.
And that's when we kind of got together and started saying, let's do serious, market research, serious data crunching, and start figuring out numbers. Start honing in on recipes that we had already brewed, but wanted to make sure that they were really tight and ready for the big scale.
Made a ton of changes and like little iteration changes. Did the same beers for like 3 years straight, just to get our core 6 down.
Yeah.
So I mean that's where it all kind of started around that time frame, and then it really ramped up probably throughout 2019. We met with Score, which is a not-for-profit through the Chamber of Commerce in Saratoga.
Mm-hmm.
And they are retired executives that help up-and-coming business owners figure out their business plan.
Oh, really?
And really help comb through, any of the finite details that maybe you didn't think about, which there were plenty of those, or those that you overlooked or miscalculated. Mm-hmm. And basically, they just kept sending us back to the drawing board week after week.
Just asking good questions to make you really think about, do you really know what your plan is and how you're going to handle this situation, that situation. And it's free. And it's kind of crazy.
That's awesome.
How much help they provided and how beneficial they were for our success.
They're awesome.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So,
why don't we try a second sample here? So that Kolsch was great.
Yeah, thanks. Let's
jump
try
to cider.
Yeah, let's go with cider. Let's go with Adams. So this one is.
Do you guys do 2 ciders here? Or
we do. We do a very dry cider. Mm-hmm. We call it Newton Champagne, and then we do Adams Apple, which is it's the same cider blended with a little bit of farm raw honey from Betterby.
Oh, okay.
So just to give it a little bit of that sweetness, still be considered a semi-dry.
Yeah, we did ciders ourselves because we found that the market lent itself to sweeter ciders, mm-hmm. which we didn't love. So we really wanted to do a true bare bones dry cider and make it nice and crisp. And then we wanted to do one that was just a little bit sweeter than that, both on the drier side of the cider spectrum. Like if you were to go over to Minogue's right now and pick out some ciders, I mean, if ours were there, they would definitely be nearest the dry side.
Yeah, that's really good.
So
we
find it more refreshing that way.
Yeah, you can kind of put them back a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fun. Once September rolls around, there's a solid 2.5 months where I just overload on Oktoberfest and ciders. I'm like, I'm good for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Fall's an exciting time for that. It's like it just makes you want to go out and buy those kind of beers. It's perfect timing for it.
So you mentioned you guys have only been open about 1.5 years, and the pandemic kind of shifted your plans, as we talked about. I mean, what were some of the biggest challenges then? If you had to convince the bank to keep going, how did you have to adjust?
They wanted to pull out of the deal, and we just kind of had to convince them that this is not going to be. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be a temporary thing before everything gets open. Vaccines were rolling out, and that was one thing that we saw on our side, which probably helped their credibility a little bit, was that we were administering all the vaccines in the pharmacy. And so we kind of saw it firsthand and could speak a little bit more to that. We had to convince our landlord as well to push back our lease.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a lot of moving parts. I thought for a minute there it wasn't going to happen and that we were going to have half of tanks. And I didn't know what we were going to do with just half tanks.
Brian called me about it, and he was like, we need to postpone. And I was like, no, we're not doing it. We're opening. And he's like, no, I really think we need to. And, this was in March of 2020 when, it could have gone either way. It could have. There was news out there saying, hey, in a month, this thing's going to curtail. And then there was news saying this will be around forever. And the wishy-washiness of it all made our decision kind of tough to like, what are we going to do? And finally, I was like, all right, fine. You want to postpone it? Let's postpone this thing. So we were home brewing at his place one day, and that's when we just started picking up the phone. And, we called Fraunhofer. We called KeyBank. We called our landlord, Scott. We made all the calls right then and there. And we're like, if we're going to do it.
Our guys.
Yep, Franco Construction. If we're going to do it, we're going to pause right now across the whole way.
Yeah, we didn't break ground yet. We kind of didn't have we had a lease, but that we had some contingencies where those contingencies kind of protected us in that sense. And then we actually moved into the spot. Did we have that before that?
No, we were still. No. So we were going to be at the end of this plaza where Next Gen Golf is right now.
Okay,
that was originally where we were going to go. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until later that this spot became available, and then the adjacent spot was actually empty.
Oh, really?
So where Wired Coffee used to be, we took that space and this adjacent space to it as well. So we're in 2 different suites, actually like 2.5 suites here.
Yeah, gave us a lot of extra square footage that was really needed.
As you can tell, much needed.
Yeah, with the cannon line back there, it's a little tight, but it works.
Well, that canning line tucks away.
Yeah, I noticed that too. So that's good. That's actually super convenient, I'm sure.
Yeah, for being on wheels, that thing is a workhorse, and it's awesome. We got that in May and started offering cans. Before we did crowlers, and that was awesome to be able to offer a canned product right off the bat at a very low cost. Unfortunately, it's just like you got to commit to 2 beers, anytime you crack one. So There's a little hesitancy.
That's why I don't get crawlers that much.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I got to drink, if I'm going to crack this open, it's at least 2 beers.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to be willing to commit.
I mean, not that I'm not willing to commit. I just try to avoid it on work nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You want to just have one beer at the end of the night. That's where the cans come in awesome. And we'll have to show you some of the can art there.
I am happy to, I'm happy to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, as rough as the pandemic was, I'm not going to, the silver lining for me, at least as a consumer, was all the delivery options that became available.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Glad we didn't have to do that, though. That seemed, from the business owner's side, like, wow.
Oh, I'm
very
sure
difficult.
I'm sure it was rough.
But,
and especially for us, our business model, especially when we moved into this spot, was we originally wanted to have food, and that was what we wouldn't be able to have in our old space.
Mm-hmm.
This one had a kitchen, a very small kitchen that Wired Coffee had, and then we had to upgrade it, put a hood in, and everything. But our business model's really focused on getting beer from those taps to you right here. Yeah. So if we had to do it all to go, I know that'd been really difficult.
mm-hmm.
Well, how difficult was it trying to find a spot then once you decided you wanted to open a brewery? Like, was Malta
Oh my gosh.
was Malta your main the main area you wanted to stick to?
Yeah, it was. We were looking at it before Unified was here, and because there was nothing going on, and Nate lived here for years.
Yeah, I was here from 2015 maybe to 2019.
He was telling me, he was like, this spot, there's nothing going on. Ton of people living here, but
it's really blown up over the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Lots of room for good places to exist, just waiting for the good places to come in. I mean, there's been plazas and, they really help it, but like all the private enterprises that are coming in and stuff like that, Unified being right over here, I mean, it's really helped to blow this area up.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, definitely the hardest part of our journey. Well, maybe it was just the most time consuming part was trying to find a spot. And we originally wanted to do Malta, but we had to actually get the zoning changed here because it wasn't allowed for they consider breweries light manufacturing. So that's why Unified's back there. Different zone. Because that's a different zone and it's allowed there.
Yeah. Walking distance.
So,
just past a few trees.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They consider this the downtown corridor. I was like, I don't know.
So like manufacturing didn't fit in to that.
Interesting.
So our landlord had to go and over to the town and sort of present, this is what they're proposing, and it's not going to be huge. You're not going to see grain silos everywhere and bellows of smoke and whatnot, from manufacturing all day. It's going to be small. And once the town kind of wrapped their head around that and saw our drawings of what our space would look like and everything, they modified the zoning
to
allow for a
use.
nano brewery. Yeah.
And they were awesome, though. The town, I can't say anything bad about them. They super accommodating. They're in here all the time. They support us. It's it's a lot different than what we experienced in other places. And it's like they have the mentality of wanting business to come in, and they support you. So it's been excellent.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you guys moved in here, did you have an idea of how you wanted this place to look? Because it came out really good. I love the setup here. There's a little lounge area in the corner here.
Yeah, that's the lab lounge. A little place to watch some TV and hang out next to a bunch of plants, and it's cozy.
I do like the plants.
Thank you. That was part of our original concept, was kind of, modern yet a bit old school. We have a lot of the glassware behind the back bar.
It's funny. I think of that my favorite, if I was designing a house, I've always wanted to use the phrase rustic modern.
Yeah, for sure, right?
It's just that's just the kind of vibe I like, and that's you have some of that going on here with like the wood on the bar here behind the TV.
Yeah, and then the modern elements. It's, there's a lot of cleanliness. Like our bar top is actually epoxy resin lab bench material. That so that was kind of our shout out to pharmacy there to have that, and no one maybe even really knows that, but we do, And that getting that table was actually one of the hardest pieces of putting this thing together.
Yeah, there's like only one place that makes it, and it's in Texas.
Right?
Really?
They custom make them. They pour them.
But that was part that we wanted to tie into the science piece. All the glassware that you can see, we kind of described it to the score team as like an apothecary that you went years later and kind of found, and the plants were kind of growing over all the glassware that existed there, and we just wanted to set up shop and serve beer there. So that's what we went for, a clean, modern look. So
yeah, it came out great. I love the setup.
Thank you. C2 Architecture, though, definitely got to give them a shout out where it's deserved. They really helped that vision kind of come into reality. They took what we told them and then put a rendering together.
Oh, nice.
And, this is their, creative work. So,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm ready for my next sample.
Yeah.
That cider was great.
Let's do Proton. You want to go over this one?
Proton.
Yep.
This one we won a bronze medal for.
Earlier this year, right? The New York
Yep, the New York
State
Craft
Brewers
Conference in Albany.
Yes.
And so our first year entering, and we came home with a medal, so we couldn't be happier.
Not expecting that. We just want to get some good feedback on our beers. And
Yep. And Proton's a kettle sour. So it's a basic, simple kettle sour where we pitch lactobacillus bacteria for about 24 to 36 hours to sour the beer when it's about 100 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And then we boil all that and kill that for the final product. So there's no lactobacillus in your final product,
right,
leaving behind the sour flavor that you're getting, which is the lactic acid. And then we prepare it like any normal beer, boil it, cool it, pitch yeast into it, and ferment it. So this is about 4.5 to 5% ABV. It's light, it's easy, it's only mildly tart. It's not
That's
over the
what
top.
I was going to say. I like that. It's just tart enough to keep on sipping. And
Right.
it's not overwhelming or anything like
right. It can sours can be very overpowering depending on what type of acid they produce compared to like lactic
this
acid
is a real
or
nice
acetic.
balance.
Yeah. So they can either taste like acetic acid, which is vinegar. That'll like really strip your palate, and you won't be able to taste much, after you're drinking it. So this one's very mild sour. And one of the things that makes this a lot of fun is we wanted a base beer which you could kind of customize. So behind the bar we do purees, and so you can do Woodruff was the traditional additive to Berliner Weiss when it was originally served in Germany. So you can add that in, which is very earthy kind of vanilla flavor, or a bunch of fruit. So we have a bunch of syrups and purees over there.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun.
It was one thing we haven't mentioned yet either is some of the how we get the names for some of the beers.
Very science driven, and I was getting to this at some point. I was going to say I love the whole slogan, "Science by the pint."
Thank you.
You guys are definitely science driven, and I love it
for sure. It goes into everything. I mean, even with the naming, like when an acid is made in solution, a proton is donated. So that name was easy to throw at this one because that's the souring process. That's what's happening. So, and our can artist even kind of shows that on the can art for this one as well. So the science nerds get it and love it. And everybody else, might admire the artwork and may not know what's going on, but not really care because it looks cool too. But the little, Easter eggs for the scientists to pick up on are fun when they get them and bring them to our attention. So
that's awesome. So where'd the name Active Ingredient come from then? How'd you guys end up settling on that?
Oh boy.
So initially we had it was a mouthful. We were originally going to be Apothecaric Brewing Company to really go through apothecary and pharmacy kind of.
That would be fun to pronounce the more you drink.
Yeah, it was a mouthful. And so we actually submitted it for trademark, and we were going to get it approved. And then we got a cease and desist from Apothec Wine. And the trademark board kind of told us that they'll approve us, but we'll immediately be sued. So we decided
thanks for the warning.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for the kind heads up.
So we'll not do that. And we thought of a different name. And that was actually Allison, right? That came up with the name?
Was it? I thought it was Brian. I was going to give Brian some credit here for this.
No, it was Allison. It was our artist that did our logo. And
which is a great logo. I think it's one of my favorites around, I think.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, she did a great job. She's a really talented artist. And you should check out some of the can art.
I haven't seen a lot of the can art.
Yeah,
I got to ask, the giant symbol you have back here, what is the green? Is that felt? Is that a living moss?
That's petrified moss. So that was living moss that they cured with a drying and light chemical process so that it's always going to look real like that. And it's more impressive the closer you get to it. From back here,
you see the texture.
That's one of the first things I noticed when I walked in.
Good. That's what we're going for. I mean, that was a bear to get up there and to get produced.
Yeah, that is pretty massive.
And it's 10 to 11 feet diameter. And we had to pick that up from the artist's home in a U-Haul and drive that here because there was no trailer big enough for it.
Yeah.
And she pieced together multiple types of moss and really brought the logo to life. I mean, that was an idea that I had as early as, the renderings. That was something we told C2, we're going to want that moss wall. And so they drew it just like that and about that size. And that's like, okay, well, compared to the dimensions of that wall, that's how big it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
So, and then my dad helped us hang that, and that was a fun morning. But it's up, and it's impressive, and people like it.
Yeah.
They go over and look at it.
Helps break up the industrial feel a little bit, too.
Yeah.
Going with the whole plant theme and
greenery. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to ask when we were talking about home brewing. Do you remember the first beer you brewed? I'm always curious.
With Brian, I remember the first beer we brewed together.
Yeah.
It was a Blondale.
Blondale.
It was bad.
It was terrible. It was bad.
It was drinkable. We drank it. We left it during the mash and went to get subs at the local sub shop, and didn't have temperature control at that time, so the mash temp dropped from 150 to 130 by the time we got back, and much more of a hobby at that time. Much more of a let's just do it and have some fun.
Yeah.
Try some beers, some other breweries while we do it, and get some subs. Then we'll finish it up later.
Yeah, that was kind of let's brew some beer, let's have some beers.
Yep, right.
And
really,
then sometimes having too many beers, and then dang it.
Times have changed.
Yeah,
a bit,
the first beer I remember brewing was it was a mini mash extract kit. It was a Belgian wit beer, which is still one of my favorite styles. Yeah, we have one. Sellout was our Belgian wit. And
nice.
It's great. We like those kind of. We like for our menu. We try to not just focus on one style of beer, so we can have a lot of diversity, and don't want to get too niche with things, and just kind of broad classic styles, maybe with a little twist.
Sweet. So, what's your favorite thing about this place?
Why is that such a big question? I don't know. Everything. It's tough to break it down. Aesthetically, pergola, moss wall come to mind. I don't know.
I think, it's more of the whole thing is really rewarding is opening your own business and then cultivating a team that really believes in your vision is awesome, and we have a great staff that have been with us for a while. One of the biggest obstacles in the beginning was our kitchen staff. That was we went through a ton of people in the kitchen. It was a ton of work, and we didn't really have the best idea of what to do over there. But now we have Brandon's been with us for almost a year now.
Nice. Doing
great jobs in there. Very talented chef, and then our front of the house staff is just excellent.
Yeah, the front of the house really wows us. A lot of our servers were not servers before. Mm-hmm. They have full-time jobs often, and they might like beer but have never served it, never described it to people, and so we take them through a pretty thorough sensory training when we hire them on. I think they see that from our perspective how much we care about the beer, and then they pretty much adopt that almost across the board every time, and they just are very happy to describe it to folks and make recommendations and, speak with conviction and passion about the product, because I think we took them through, that whole process and they just love it, or they've been here to drink before and they've had good experiences.
A ton of our employees are just past patrons.
Yeah. Straight up. Yeah. They'll be like, oh yeah, we've been here a bunch.
There's nothing better than working for a place you enjoyed going to be here.
Right. Yeah. And that was really important to us when we initially started, was we needed people that were really invested and really cared about the science behind it. Right, that's our whole theme. Is you got to be able to speak to it. We like that they're really knowledgeable and they're able to answer your questions, whether if you're an expert or they can even talk if you just started getting into craft beer. So you want to be able to help run the whole gambit.
So, pandemic aside, what were some of the unexpected challenges that came onto your plate when you were trying to open?
Glycol chiller.
Oh, yeah.
That was
it's still a problem.
It's still a problem. But I guess mechanical failures, if you just want to zoom out a little bit from the chiller itself, just any time that a hardware or mechanical piece, even though they were brand new, things would break or come disconnected. And, we didn't have a lot of experience putting these things together before. We were pharmacists and we've had very little commercial experience. So it was that learning curve of,
it's not what we told you.
How do you, yeah. How do you,
too late to back out now.
Yeah. How do you figure out how to put all that back together? You know what I mean? And make up things as you're going and educate yourself and make sure everything's running smoothly, even though it's things that are definitely outside of either your comfort zone or things you've done in the past.
Yeah, and we tried to mitigate some of those issues by we took a course through the American Brewers Guild out of Middlebury, and became brewers through that, and that was really helpful to kind of get us from the homebrew scale to the professional scale. But it was still very limited. We did a little internships here and there, but once you're here and it's all the buck stops with you, it's a lot different.
It's different, big time.
Like you make little mistakes that you don't think is going to be a big deal. Like it was right before our grand opening, and we decided our beer should be a little bit more carbed, and we over-carbed all of our beer. And then the opening day we were pouring pints, and it was taking like a minute and a half. It was awful.
Lines
and
out
we
the
learned
door.
our lesson. It was
don't
Don't.
over-carb.
don't over-carb.
Never over-carb. We learned the same lesson with the canning line. You just cannot over-carb.
No.
So
if they tell you there's a certain amount and it's the range, you just got to listen to them. It's nothing too high.
So what's the trick with the cannon lines? Because I've noticed when I've cracked open cans, some it's already kind of spilling out the top. Sometimes it's kind of perfectly leveled. So is there like a science behind that?
It's kind of weight based.
yeah.
So typically the ones that if you pop it open and beer's shooting out, it's a really full can. That's all really it is.
Okay.
And it's probably got the least amount of oxygen of any can because
that's-
it was capped appropriately on foam.
Okay.
Right.
So as a consumer, that little bit in the beginning there is annoying, but you're almost guaranteed to have, as long as it's fairly recently done, a very fresh beer there.
Nice.
Right.
Because
Okay.
it was filled right to the top and capped on foam, so no oxygen,
Right.
was allowed in.
Yeah, it's a lot of play with flow to get a little bit about a foam, so you cap on that foam. Or if you can't get too much foam, then you fill it up a little higher, and then you have only a little foam. There's a lot of different ways to do it. It's a very evolving process too. So you got to be on it because it depends on how much pressure you have on your tanks, how cold your beer is, and how those interplay during the whole process. It's a ton of fun. It is super rewarding.
It's a pain in the butt and also a ton of fun.
Yeah, and it's
a
of course,
live
it'd be very
liquid.
frustrating.
You're working with a live liquid, so everyone in every tank might be slightly different.
Okay.
The constituents of what's in it, the carbonation of it, and as you run it through the line, as you do your first couple, you're either surprised at how easy it's going, or you're immediately upset at either how overcarbed it is or how difficult it's going. So, and then
Right.
you kind of work with each liquid, individually to hone that in, the flow rates and the flow times and
Right, and we have a single head filler. We have a very not very automated system. We do our labels ourselves, and we don't have a depalletizer, so there's a lot of moving parts. It's a little bit more hands on than some of the bigger systems, more expensive systems. But it was a really nice way to get into canning at a lower price point.
Yeah.
Not a low price point, just lower.
Just a more affordable price point.
Yeah.
So when we move on to our last sample.
Yeah, this
Here?
one.
Mom jeans.
Mom jeans.
Yeah, this one's a little more punny and on the
Which
nose.
I picked based on name.
Okay.
I don't even remember
And
what
a lot
this
of
one
people
was.
do. That's the good. That's what we're going for here with this one. It's enticing. It's easy for some of our science named beers. This one's a little easier to just take.
Was this the double
it's funny.
IPA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So hazy New England double
Ooh, that's nice.
IPA with Citra, Galaxy, and Mosaic.
Okay.
It gets 4 different hop additions. Whirlpool. Well, our normal bittering addition, which is actually a hop solution that we use.
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets whirlpooled, biotransformed, and double dry hopped.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got probably about 3 pounds per barrel of those hops, and we use a lot of Lupamax style hops. So there's a lot more of the lupulin gland and the actual pieces that make up the hop that are not the leaf or the stem.
Yeah, the alpha acid, the beta acid. It's the stuff that you actually like in hops.
Okay.
Not the vegetal matter.
Interesting.
Yeah, these hops, they kind of like glow bright yellow when you take them out, so you can tell
That's kind of cool.
they're different than your regular green hops. And so they impart, more juiciness, more flavor into the finished product for sure.
And they allow you to get more yield as well because the leafy vegetal matter kind of absorbs a lot of the beer,
Mm-hmm.
where this stuff goes into solution a little better.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, thanks. It's
Thank you.
This one we've been doing from the beginning, and That's definitely, this is one of our main ones. Yeah, all 4 of these are main
What's
products.
been the best seller or most popular?
Well, Control Group is probably overall number one. Control Group is our New England Pale Ale.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get us some samples of that.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian will get us a sample so we can try that. Unlike what you're getting with Mom Jeans, you're getting more sweet fruit, more dank. Not like a bright citrus flavor out of Mom Jeans. It's a little bit different. Whereas the Control Group is going to be Citra Cascade. It's straight up oranges, grapefruit, Tangelo, very light melon, if anything. It's very much a citrus bomb.
Nice.
And at 6%, for a location where folks might be coming, grabbing a pint or two, and then hitting the road, it's actually more of an approachable percentage to them, so that they can have one, maybe two, if they're staying for a long time, and still go somewhere. Whereas Mom Jeans coming in at just under 8%, a little more difficult to accomplish that feat.
Yeah, so I would say so. That's a one can beer on a work night.
Yes,
not a 2-can crawler.
We see a lot more of Mom Jean sales, like of our cans. People are more apt to grab that one and bring it home and drink it there. We still sell plenty in the tap room, but of our off-premise sales, like including Minogue's and EBI and some of the other beverage centers we're in, we see a lot of repeat orders for Mom Jeans.
Okay, so you do distribute some of your cans?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in, I think, 6 or 7 locations
Thank you, sir.
now. Minogue's next door, Minogue's on West Ave, EBI in Saratoga, Latham Beverage, Midtown, right?
Yeah, Midtown and Johnstown, and TJ's Discount in Gloversville.
Oh, nice. Geez, I don't even know the last time I went out that.
Yeah, I'm from Mayfield, so it's like Sagadaga Lake.
Yep,
that's where I grew up. So
I went to Fulton Montgomery for my associate's degree.
Oh, did you?
That way? Yeah.
Okay.
So honestly, I don't know if I've been out that way since I graduated. Or 12 years. Maybe like 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, my wife's from Gloversville, so we go and visit them. So it's like try to find places that we already go to because we try to sell our beer at we're trying to get a little bit more market exposure for our products. So we have it pretty competitively priced. So trying to find those places that we already go to and then hit up those beverage centers works out best for us.
Yeah.
So I take it once you started doing the cannon, there was a pretty immediate positive reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't had any issues with the canning line.
Yeah. No, they've been received well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a coworker that's only spoken, who's between here and Unified's gone a number of times. I've heard a lot of good things, which is one of the reasons I was excited to finally get up here. And all of this has been delicious so far.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'll actually grab some of those cans to show you.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
try and control this.
So do you have, Brian, a favorite style in particular that you like really doing?
It's kind of evolved.
I mean, we talked about Belgians a lot.
Yeah. Like we do a good amount of German beer, and we do Belgian wit was one of my favorite styles for a long time. But when I initially started brewing at homebrew scale, I did a lot of like ambers and browns and stouts, and that's kind of it. I couldn't back then. It was like Sierra Nevada was like way too hoppy for me, and it's like now it's like my flavor profile has changed, and I really enjoy brewing all the styles. One that's fun that we're just starting is doing fruited sours. Yep. That's a lot of fun. So we do. That's really picked up in the last couple of years. Yeah, yeah, and it's we use Philly sour, which is actually it's a naturally occurring yeast that produces lactic acid. So it's kind of it's an easier way to do some of these sours, and it produces a really great product. And we just started doing a fruited series. So we do tart cherry.
That's Delta right there.
Nice. Yeah. So that one.
Cherry. I mean, I'm down for anything cherry to try for sure.
Yeah, and it's from a cherry farm. The concentrate is made right on site. They ship it right to us. It's super fresh. It's really high quality, and it comes out really amazing in that.
I mean, are you guys able to use a lot of local ingredients? We talked about what was the meadery or
the honey we get from Better Bee, which is out in Greenwich. Yeah. We try. One thing that we're looking to get in more is be more New York State grain. We do we don't use New York State grain primarily right now. We do supplement with it. And then hops, we're trying to get a little bit more into local New York hops. We start using a lot of New York State Cascade, which is awesome. But a lot of the ones that we use and in our IPAs, they're like New Zealand or Australian. So you really can't get too much local with those.
Okay. Nate, did you have a favorite style you like brewing or working on?
Gosh, not necessarily. No, I just I guess working on is different. I mean, I like the challenge of the IPAs because they're just more involved. There's more steps to hone in and get right and do slightly different. We just started an experimental IPA series. We actually have one in the fermenter finishing up right now. It's going to be a session, 5%.
Okay.
And we use 3 different hops we've never used before. Azaka, Brew 1, and Cashmere, as well as experimenting with some mash hopping. So
you use Cosmic Punch in that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use Cosmic Punch yeast from Omega,
nice.
Which is a thiolized yeast strain that if you hop in your mash, you can unleash some of those thiols using the enzymes from the husk of the grain. And then when pairing it with that yeast, they work hand in hand together to free up some of those passion fruit, guava type aromas.
It's really unique. It's very
flavors.
interesting.
That does sound pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's scientifically modified, let's be honest.
Yeah,
They gene spliced the DNA of Saccharomyces yeast, and they got it to really, really go after the thiols, which is awesome.
Do we have any of the Blonde Ale?
Cosmic Blonde, yes, that's another one.
Do we have it on tap or no?
Not on tap. We have it in
big
cans.
can.
Looks like we have some cans to send you home with, Chris, for sure.
I mean,
Stuff that you didn't get
I'm
to
not going
try
to say
today.
no, and I very
But-
much appreciate that.
Yeah.
You got it.
By the way, I love the art. I do like the artwork a lot. We mentioned it earlier. This is some cool stuff.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's different. It's unique.
It stands out. I would notice this if I was in a beverage center,
That's
just
what-
at a
that's-
wall with.
That was our
Craft
idea.
beer.
Is like, sometimes they're a little too busy and you don't know what kind of beer you're getting yourself into. And at the price point, you're looking at almost $20 a 4-pack. We want to make sure that we're sending you home with something that you're going to enjoy. Because if you get something and it's not what you want, like, you're not going to want to buy any more of our beer. So that's why on all of our beers we have Century panels. So you can see right here.
Yep.
And it kind of tells you what it's going to taste like. Yeah. What flavors you're going to get from that beer. So you can make a little bit more of an informed choice when purchasing. And, it's a kind of a more white space with a little bit of artwork, but not completely artwork where you can't tell what kind of beer it is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had both kinds of labels jump out at me, super busy ones and then more subdued plain ones. And this is something I would definitely notice when I'm just standing there at a wall for a half hour. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to buy?
Yeah. Just so many options.
Yeah.
It's so difficult.
It's nice with Minogues, they do it alphabetically. So we're
Oh, do they really?
We are first.
I've also not been in the Minogues right here.
You should check it out.
Wonderful
They
place.
redid it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Because I live down in Schenectady, so I go to, I can't remember the name now, but there's Glenville Beverage that I pop in right in Glenville there, and there's a place on Altamont Ave that I'm totally blanking on the name. So if they hear this, I apologize.
Happens.
Are there any memorable experiments that have gone horribly wrong? I'm always curious.
Hate to admit.
Chain reaction. Yeah, that's probably that was before we got a hop doser, and that was probably one of our best purchases for a very inexpensive thing. Is a way to add hops without adding oxygen. So it's like a little chamber that you put on top.
Okay.
You flush it with CO2 after you add your hops in there. You vent off the oxygen, and then you kind of shoot them into the tank.
Interesting.
But yeah, you want to tell them?
Yeah, we had a couple. I just thought of another one too. Fun to relive these for a hot minute to remind ourselves too.
Yeah.
I think it was the yeast strain we chose for that beer, and we'll never use it again for a hazy New England.
Mm-hmm.
On paper, it was supposed to perform well, and over time, it just completely dropped out in the tank. So we had an 8% hazy, delicious IPA called Chain Reaction that we put out last fall, and for the first, I'd say 3-4 weeks, that thing was awesome. And then all of a sudden, over the course of 2 weeks, week or two, it all dropped right out. And the taste kind of dropped right out with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
so that was
weird.
one of the only beers we had to actually waste, which was that hurt. But it's you, like you said, you learn from it. You try to go back and see what might have caused that, and just try to not repeat it. The other what we tried to do is a seltzer.
Yeah. I'm proud about that.
Well, I mean, those were popping up left and right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we wanted to do one for summer.
and we probably
Seemed
still
easy
will. It seemed easy enough. It's very easy, actually. A little water, a little dextrose and a little yeast nutrient and a little yeast, and just let it make seltzer. And it did, and it had alcohol in it, but it smelled like pure sulfur. I mean,
really?
It was just the smell on that beer was or on that seltzer was bad, serious.
Wow.
So and we used a yeast nutrient and a yeast that were meant to be paired. So where that went wrong, and the dosing rates were accurate. So I'm not sure. You just maybe not use those products.
Yeast nutrient. We got to dose it more like cider.
Mm-hmm.
Along the process, you got to kind of add because even the yeast that we use for cider doesn't like to metabolize cider. It doesn't have everything it needs, so you're going to add in like nitrogen and things like that, so yeast nutrient along the way, so it has what it needs to, so it doesn't produce those off flavors. That's my guess. We'll check another crack at it next summer.
We'll definitely do another seltzer for sure and get it right. But.
Move on to this late sample that entered the game here. Which one was this again?
Control group.
Okay. And what was this?
So this one's our kind of our flagship. It's a New England Pale Ale, right at 6%. This one is Citra and Cascade. So 2 really good citrusy hops. Get a little grapefruit. You get a little bit of melon, a little tangelo.
I like that. That's good.
And this is by far our best seller.
Okay.
And easy drinking. It was a lot of fun. It went through a lot of iterations in the beginning, and we kind of found it's where we like it. And then we kind of can't help ourselves, and we change things like every single time, even though it's like it's good. Can it be better? And usually the little tweaks. Produce something, and most of the time they're good because we try to make them calculated. But I can honestly say I don't think there's a batch that we did exactly the same every single time.
This is really nice.
Now we're pretty close. I'd say we're honed in.
But just changing the mash profile a little bit, making it maybe a little bit more residual sweetness.
And you're not experimenting on anything small. I mean, you're experimenting with your whole system. So what is that like for you guys when you're taking that kind of risk in your hands?
Initially, a bit daunting. Now we do it all the time.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people will buy those pilot systems, and they'll do 1 and 3 barrel, pilot batches.
Well, we got our system, so we can do 5 barrel batches in our system, and that was kind of our idea. We'll just do half batches, but then when you get through it, it's the cost is maybe $1,000 or $2. The yeast is expensive, but like the amount of time that you have to put into a 1 barrel batch compared to a 10 barrel batch is phenomenal. So it's like, we're going to do it. Let's just do it. Because if we hit it right and we're trying to make calculated risk, and if it comes out great, it's great. We have 10 barrels of it. If it doesn't, all right, we'll try to figure it out next time.
That's good.
Yeah. And there's ways to describe those flavors too. So like if you do an experiment and it comes out 10% off of what you were expecting it to come out, but that way that it came out was also pleasurable in a way. There's ways to just describe that to your customer and say, hey, this is what we did. This is the outcome we got. So this is what happens when you change 1 or 2 ingredients, and you can taste it in this way. So it's not that it's a throwaway or, it's not exactly a control group.
Yeah.
It is. It's just the nuances, if they're described, are perceived okay. So that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, and that actually goes into something that we do it's basically like our mug club. We call our lab partners.
Yep.
And we do tastings, especially during our first year. When we were making all these iterations, was a lot of fun. We'd bring them in on we were like a Monday or Tuesday when we were closed, and we just bring in pizza. It'll just be them, us, and we would give them samples of the old batch and the new batch, and then see how they liked it. So we got real time feedback from them, and got to explain the differences and got them really invested in the changes.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. And it was,
I'm always down for pizza and beer sampling. So
Yeah.
I can't. I'd be happy too. Just 1 or 2 questions to wrap up as we're getting closer to the hour than I thought we were. So you guys have anything special cooking?
That new IPA that starts our experimental series is almost done. So another maybe week or 2. Right now we're just so flush. All 12 taps are taken. So as soon as one thing sort of falls off.
It's a nice selection, by the way, having 12.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good amount, we find.
It kind of was against, we originally wanted to start with less, and that's what when we opened up, we had 6 beers and 2 ciders, and we're like, we don't want to, put too many things on the menu where people get a little menu fatigue.
Yeah.
And they can't pick a beer because there's too many options. But then you see, like, you want to just brew a ton of different styles and you can't help yourself.
You can't help it. And then now you have 12 beers and every tap is taken and you're waiting for taps. And
And we're like, we should have put some more taps in it, guys.
Yeah.
But it's probably good that we didn't because, keep the selection a little bit less.
Yeah. So that would be what's coming up.
Nice.
And then we're going to do like a cherry cocoa stout, like imperial stout.
Oh, interesting.
Coming up a little bit later.
Yeah, you got the sour too.
We have another iteration of Delta.
Yeah.
Delta PH. Instead of using cherry, we're going to use a different fruit. I'm not going to disclose what that is yet because I don't know for sure.
We're still working on it.
We have to test through
Work in progress.
But it's very close.
The first one, I think we tasted 20, 30 samples of purees and tried to figure out what would go well. And it's fun and it's also challenging at the same time. it's
a fun experiment,
frustrating a little
but it's time consuming. And once we found the cherry, it was everyone just sort of looked around at each other and they were just nodded their head like, we finally found it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Nice.
So
is there something you want to do that you haven't done yet when it comes to brewing? Let's say even with Active Ingredient in general.
I guess on the brewing side for me, I'm excited to work more on our lager series.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start doing experimental lager series. And just to kind of get through, we started last year. Was the first one? Oh, we did Fest Beer. That was the first one. That was a lot of fun, which was in a style. It's an Oktoberfest, but it's a lighter than the one that a lot of people are used to, which is a Marzen style. And in Germany, they stopped drinking Marzen, at Oktoberfest like 40 years ago. But it didn't really catch on here, and we were excited to bring that to the market. And that's like a lighter, easier drinking version of an Oktoberfest.
Interesting.
And so that kind of kicked off our lagering, and we did a Mexican lager. I'm excited to do that one again, and maybe like a Dunkelweizen or something like that. I think that's kind of what I would like to do.
Nice.
One that I want to do that I finally got Brian to agree to do.
I already like his reaction.
I've been asking to do a saison now for pretty much since opening. And,
first day one.
But the rule is we don't brew something unless we both agree. So Brian has not been on board. So finally, I was talking with Nick up at Whitman. Nick and Sam up at Whitman Brewing.
That's another place I need to check out.
They're awesome.
Great.
They're
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Their food looks awesome too.
Oh, it's fantastic. Good. That pizza is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I said to Nick, and I've been bugging Nick to do a collab now for months, and finally he's kind of okay. We're going to do one, And I said, well, what do you want to do? And as he was thinking, I said, well, what about a saison? And he immediately was like, ding, 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 yes. And then he said, what about a honey saison? Which I said, well, we already do honey beers. I've got my uncle's honey from Brookfield that we have to experiment with. Let's do it. So this spring sometime.
Nice.
We're going to go up there and collab with them and finally get that saison.
Yeah, I've been itching to check them out. I've had a couple of beers. Their beers make it down to at least Westmere Beverage Center.
Yeah.
So I've picked up a couple cans there, and those have been great.
Fantastic.
But just those pizzas, I'm like, I got to get up there.
I know, they're so good.
Yeah, and they just opened like a beer hall or something like that.
I saw that
a good
too.
time to go check it out, I'd say.
But I think that's going to do it for this episode, fellas.
All right. Great. Well, thanks for coming by.
Thank you. So it's been another successful episode, I'd say, of Stories from a Bar. It's 10:10. I've tried 5 beers.
On a Tuesday morning.
Sure.
Now you're ready for that World Cup game?
I am.
Awesome.
Big thank you, Nate and Brian, for hanging out. I really appreciate you guys taking some time to hang out, have these samples, tell me about the brewery and everything. This has been super fun.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
If you're not doing it already, be sure to go and follow, subscribe, all the things you would do to social media pages for Active Ingredient Brewing to keep tabs on everything they have going on. You can check out their website, activeingredientbrewing.com. Anything else you guys want to throw in?
I think that's it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Huge thank you to everyone out there for checking out the show. You can, of course, follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at StoriesFAB to keep up with everything going on and coming up with the show. You'll find Stories from a Bar on all major podcast platforms, so be sure to like and subscribe and leave fantastic reviews. I appreciate it. So until next time, everyone, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.